US President Trump says the call with his opposite number in Moscow, Vladimir Putin, was 2.5 hours. He posted on Truth Social and then gave comments behind me in the Rose Garden. He essentially said that Russia and Ukraine have agreed to direct talks towards some sort of peace, but there is no declaration of a ceasefire. Now, is that a promise of trade with Russia or a threat that if there isn't a ceasefire or a peace deal, there won't be any trade? You never know with the US president, but you can tell the US is getting impatient with the process. Now, whether that means more pressure on Moscow or whether it means walking back from the talks entirely, as Vladimir Putin, for his part, the Kremlin came out very fast after the call. They say they're ready for talks, they're ready for peace, they're ready for a ceasefire, yet they need to set those parameters.
We agreed with the US president that Russia will suggest and is ready to work with the Ukrainian side on a memorandum on a possible future peace treaty, which defines a number of issues such as the principles of settlement, the terms of a possible peace agreement, and so on, including a possible ceasefire for a certain period of time, if the appropriate agreements are reached.
And Vladimir Zelenskyy responded after speaking to European leaders on X, the social media site, and essentially said he was glad to talk to President Trump, which, by the way, he spoke to before the call with Putin. That's the first time that's really happened. Normally, Trump will brief Zelenskyy afterwards. That has been seen in diplomatic circles as a bit of a shift, gives Zelenskyy more influence ahead of the call. Anyway, he said, no peace without Ukraine's involvement. This is a real test time, and if Russia doesn't come to the table to end the conflict, more sanctions should follow.
No one will be pulling our troops out of our own territory. It is my constitutional duty. It is the duty of our military to protect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Ukraine. If Russia sets conditions for withdrawing our troops from our land, it means they don't want a ceasefire and they don't want the war to end, because they clearly understand that Ukraine won't do that.
The US are very tight-lipped on sanctions. They're very tight-lipped on where this is going to go. But you can tell this is kind of a make-or-break moment for a conflict that was meant to be ended day one of the US president's second term. Nathan King, CGTN, at the White House.